All right, Minnesota fans, here you go. Minnesota versus Nebraska. Is it right on your screen? It's not showing up for me.
Yeah, that's right. You got it.
I don't know why StreamYard does this, but all right. So Minnesota falls to Nebraska 73-55. It was a tough effort for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They just came off that huge win against Ohio State at home. Obviously, going into Lincoln is never easy. However, I know Minnesota fans were probably not really happy with the performance, and I also saw some questioning the effort a little bit of the team. I think this is a team that is giving good effort, but at a certain point, like when you go into Nebraska, and again, I'm not trying to make every excuse in the world for them, but like at a certain point, you just kind of lose your faith, right? I mean, the way that you lose some of these games in Nebraska, and Nebraska came out quick and early and was really scoring on them. What were your thoughts on the game, Ken?
Yeah, I was disappointed in my Gophers. And I say my Gophers because yesterday I posted a bold prediction that they were going to be the first Big Ten team to win at Nebraska. And you know what, man? I sometimes you just got to take one on the chin. I just retweeted it and put whoopsies. And I'm just now checking this for the first time. I am getting destroyed in the comments right now about me picking Minnesota to win this game. And it's pretty fun. So go check that out at Casual Big Ten if you guys want to see me getting made fun of. But yeah, Nebraska, like, you just can't beat them at home. And it sounds like such a lazy thing to say because you can just look at their record and be like, oh man, they're tough at home. But it's just the truth because they're really not doing anything differently on their home court that they're doing on the road, but they just can't seem to pick up the wins on the road like they can so easily get the wins at home. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I still like Minnesota. This is a very disappointing game, especially because I've been advocating for them to make the NCAA tournament with Joe Lunardi and other people on Twitter. But I still love Cam Christie. I thought he played fine today. He had some moments where he was playing really good. My guy, Parker Fox, 8 points in the first half, and then he kind of disappeared in the second half, which was disappointing because everybody was talking about my guy at halftime. It was pretty awesome to see. But yeah, Nebraska is just too much. And here's the interesting thing about this game. Usually when Nebraska gets a blowout win like this, from what I've noticed this year, Keisei Tominaga usually has a big game, and he only had, I believe, 6 points tonight, if I'm remembering right from the game. So it's nice to see if you're a Nebraska fan. And by the way, which I am a fan of Nebraska. I just thought that this was a good spot to make a bold prediction for Minnesota. I love Nebraska, but it's nice to see them step up when Tominaga doesn't have a big game and say, hey, we got these other guys. We have Mast. We have Juwan Gary, who had a massive game today. That was a big game for him. It's nice to see those other guys step up and say, hey, we actually have a legitimate team. We're not just relying on this guy jacking up left-handed three-pointers from the logo, and they always go in at home. We can actually win games and grind it out and beat you that way as well. So it was nice to see that for Nebraska. So I'm excited for them getting that win. Obviously, I'm just sad that I got my prediction wrong. You know, that hurts a little bit, you know.
Wow, it's okay. Not everybody can put predictions out there. So they all like to come and make fun when we lose. But I think if everybody made predictions, there would be a whole lot less making fun of because everybody else would show how wrong they are.
It's like if you said Nebraska was going to win this game, that's like, okay, duh. Like they're at home. They haven't lost at home hardly at all this year except once. Like that's not something tweetable to be like, I think Nebraska is going to win this game. Like, obviously, like everyone thinks that. Yeah. So I only like to do the predictions when I think that it's something that people think is not going to happen, but then usually it actually doesn't happen. And then I look like an idiot. So, but that's okay though. It's fun still. It's fun.
Dave says, I feel like Minnesota is going to bounce back and get a surprising win against Illinois. Illinois, we just talked about it. They are a team that could be upset if you have enough offense and you're able to stop them with your defense at all, or not at all, but enough to be able to win those games because Illinois just doesn't have the defense in my mind, or at least they haven't shown the defense in my mind. So Minnesota could certainly make that happen. Ollie Bob was talking about your guy Parker Fox here, played well, but his game is dependent on other players hustling the way he does. So that's actually a praise. He's saying other players need to play like him. Tonight, Parker was the only one hustling. Parker almost messed around and got himself a double-double. It was eight and 9, I think, in that one. So listen, this in no way, shape, or form changes my love for Minnesota this season, but I also love Nebraska. so this was one of those games where, like, I don't have kids who are battling against each other, like, because they aren't old enough to do that yet. But like, if I had two kids that were on the same or on different teams in a league, and like one was playing the other, like you've seen when JJ Watt goes against TJ Watt in the NFL, or like what's his name, Travis Kelce goes against Jason Kelce. Like, I feel like I'm the one in the stands with like the half Nebraska, half Minnesota jersey, where I'm like, go, just play good basketball, because I love both these teams so much, and I think that they bring so much to the Big Ten this season, other than what we normally have from the good teams, because Nebraska and Minnesota has both popped up this year and been who people didn't think they were going to be. I think Nebraska was picked to finish 12th, I saw on the broadcast, and Minnesota was picked to finish last. These are two teams that are both vying to possibly be a 2-round bye in the Big Ten tournament. Now, I think it's going to be much harder for Minnesota to get there after this loss tonight. However, Nebraska looks like they're probably going to get that 2-round bye. So I love both of these teams, and I think that they're both playing good basketball. And unfortunately for Minnesota, they just kind of put their head down after just having be completely blown out by just spectacular Nebraska offense.
Yeah. I'll take it a step further on what you said too. Not only does my love for Minnesota not dwindle at all, but I also don't think they're any worse of a team than Nebraska, because they have already beat Nebraska. They beat Nebraska at home already. So like, they've split this year. I still think that Minnesota could go toe to toe with Nebraska. Like, for example, if they meet up in 3 weeks at the Big Ten tournament, that would be a fantastic game. Like you were saying though, I'd be really torn in the stands on that one. Like, but that would be a great rubber match though. Like those two, like settling the score, like both of them, each one at home and the other one at home, obviously. But I don't know how many teams can even say that in the Big Ten this year, where they've split like their home games, where we would want to see a rubber match like that in the Big Ten tournament. That'd be great. I would love to see that game one more time. And I'd be really excited if that happened for sure. But I think Minnesota could win that game. And obviously that's almost like a home game for them, because it could be in Minneapolis. So that's not really a neutral site either. So it might even favor the Gophers a little bit.
I guess let's end the discussion here before we move on to the next game. If Minnesota is going to make a kind of run in the Big Ten tournament, specifically, obviously they have 2 more games this season, but say they get to the Big Ten tournament, they make some kind of run, say they make it to the Big Ten championship game, just, hypothetically, who is the player on this Minnesota team that's going to make that happen? Is it Elijah Hawkins? Is it Cam Christie? Is it Dawson Garcia? Farrell Play? Who is the one? I know you're going to say Parker Fox.
Nope.
Okay, not. Who is the one? Who is it?
And you still haven't mentioned him. It's Mike Mitchell.
All right.
It's Mike Mitchell, 100%. Like, he's got to get super streaky hot, and he's got to be extremely consistent knocking down his 3-pointers. And the team will, I think, feed from that, because when you knock down those big shots, when you knock down those big 3-pointers, everyone's starting to get some momentum. They're saying, hey, look, we got the stadium with us. We got everybody rocking. Mike's feeling it. Let's get it to the hot hand. If he plays above average, they could win a couple of games. If he plays really, really good, I think that they could make that run that you're talking about. But it's got to be him, though, because they rely too much on him in big moments to knock down those threes. And when he doesn't, they usually struggle. And when he does, they usually play really well. I think that there's a lot on his shoulders during that week at the Big Ten tournament. He's a super important player for them, I think.
Yeah. Another comment from our friend Alababa here. Minnesota will make noise next year, as they should have everybody back, knock on wood. Even Parker Fox has a confirmed extra year of eligibility left to use, as announced yesterday. You said something. He said something about that on your podcast with you. Did he say he wasn't coming back, or did he say that? What did he say to you?
I didn't ask him specifically about that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't, because I was under the impression that there was no shot that he had another year. I mean, this is his 7th year technically in college. I mean, he just turned 28, I think.
Okay.
So that would be.
So he does have an extra year then.
So that would be pretty. I mean, I don't know. That'd be crazy.
I thought you had said that he told you on the podcast he wasn't coming back.
No. When I got asked about that last week, I just said there's no way that he does, and that was just me guessing.
Okay.
But then somebody said, I think in the comments last week on YouTube, they corrected me, and I think I replied back to them. It might have been him. Might have been Ali Baba.
Thanks for
told me
correcting
that he
us
has
there.
another year. That's crazy. I'd love to see him come back, though. That'd be awesome.
Listen, this is the part that I can't follow, even with my own team, like who can come back and who can't.
Yeah.
With all the COVID year stuff and everything, it's almost impossible. So God bless the people who do, because I can't hardly do it. It's almost impossible. I have to address this comment and then we'll move on. The OHIO podcast. I just hop on and JR in a Buckeye hat says, I also love Nebraska SMH. Eric, I will say this one thing to defend myself and then we'll move on. Who were the ones that wanted football season to happen in 2020 with Ohio State? It was Nebraska. Nebraska were the ones fighting for it with the rest of the Ohio State fans. And so ever since then, I've always had just a little bit of an affinity for Nebraska. And this basketball season is certainly helping with that as well. So
how could you not like Nebraska though? Any college basketball fan, like, unless you're just like a staunch Nebraska hater, if you watch Nebraska, they have so many guys that are easy to cheer for. I mean, it's really tough not to like them, I think.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. One question from Mike.
The comments are popping tonight, man. I'm trying to keep track of them over here on the screen.
I was worried about us doing
keep up.
I was worried about us doing a 2-man show, but apparently every Sunday night could just be a 2-man show because this is when everybody watches. Michael says, JR, did you talk about the comments about Painter where he said that he would never have thought he would hear the Who's House chant at the end of the game today? I did not talk about those comments, but I'm glad you brought that up. Just real quick on Purdue, because we're not going to talk about that game because unfortunately we had guests scheduled who couldn't make it tonight that were from Rutgers and Penn State. So I want to talk about their teams, but it's a fantastic moment for Purdue tonight, not only beating Michigan, but going into their house and just completely overloading that arena and having those chants. I mean, as an Ohio State fan, I pride myself on when the fans go to different football stadiums and they're able to do the OHIO chant around the stadium. And every time I've been a part of that, it almost like, I know this is kind of stupid, but it kind of makes me tear up a little bit because it's just like the fan base of being able to do that. So when I heard that tonight for Boilermaker fans, I was like, this has to be one of the best feelings, like obviously winning national championship, stuff like that. But just like in a single game moment, this has to be one of the best feelings out there because not only are you proud of your team, but it's like you're proud of your fans. You're proud of the people who root for this team as well. You have any thoughts on that, Kent?
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I like that. But it is Michigan. It's been happening with like every team that's been playing them this year. Like there was go green, go white chants, which that's a little bit easier because it's in the same state. I get that. But like, I don't know, man. I went to a Michigan game over Christmas break. There was nobody there. Yeah. Nobody was in the stadium. I went and watched them. God, who was that team that they played? I can't even remember. McNeese State. Game? I went to the McNeese State game and just watched. It was actually really impressive to watch McNeese. They were a really good team, but there was nobody there. Nobody was at that game. So it's been like that all year for Michigan. But I will say, like I said at the beginning of the show, very impressive for them to drive up all the way from West Lafayette to Ann Arbor and have that sort of a presence in that stadium. That is extremely impressive, no doubt.
Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out. Get in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.